Hi friends and welcome back to my channel Universal TV.
In the darkest days of World War II, when nations were consumed by fire and steel, and fear echoed through every bombed-out street, a monstrous creation emerged, forged not just from iron, but from ambition, ideology, and terror. It was the heaviest and most powerful weapon ever built by man. This is the story of Schwerer Gustav. To grasp the origin of this mechanical giant, we must rewind to pre-war Europe. The 1930s were marked by rising tensions, with Germany under Adolf Hitler aggressively expanding its military might. France had fortified its eastern border with an enormous chain of bunkers, gun turrets, and underground fortresses known as the Maginot Line, a steel and concrete wall meant to deter any invasion. Hitler saw this line not as a barrier, but as a challenge. He wanted a gun that could obliterate even the deepest bunker. Something so powerful, it could punch through 7 meters of reinforced concrete and a full meter of solid steel. The idea sounded impossible, but for the Nazi war machine, impossible was merely a starting point. The responsibility to design this unprecedented weapon fell to Krupp Industries, one of Germany's most renowned arms manufacturers. What they built defied engineering norms, a railway gun that stretched nearly 47 meters in length and weighed a staggering 1,350 tons, as heavy as 4 fully loaded Boeing 747s. The barrel alone measured over 32 meters. Each shell was a mountain of metal, 7 tons in weight, more than most adult African elephants. Assembling and moving the gun was a Herculean effort. Thousands of workers were needed, and dozens of specially designed rail cars transported its many parts. The scale was so massive, it blurred the line between weapon and fortress. Schwerer Gustav was not just a weapon, it was a mechanical marvel. Its loading process took nearly an hour per shell. Ammunition had to be hoisted with cranes, precisely aligned with the breech, and carefully rammed into place. The firing process was deafening. When the trigger was pulled, the entire landscape trembled. Gustav's shells could travel up to 48 kilometers, nearly 30 miles, landing with such force that they could reduce entire bunkers to rubble or flatten rail depots. But all that power came at a cost. It was slow, complex, and vulnerable. For the Nazi regime, Schwerer Gustav served more than just a military purpose. It was a symbol. It represented German superiority, industrial might, and the absolute will to dominate. Footage of the gun's movement and assembly was distributed widely. Civilians were shown marveling at its enormity. Soldiers posed beside it like proud architects next to a cathedral. The message was clear. Germany could build anything, destroy anything. And this weapon, this monster, would prove it. In the summer of 1942, Gustav was deployed for its one and only combat mission, the Siege of Sevastopol, a heavily fortified Soviet city on the Crimean Peninsula. Transporting the weapon took weeks. It required over 25 trains and 4,000 men just to set up. When it finally fired, the effect was catastrophic. Bunkers that had stood for years were reduced to flaming holes in the earth. One shell demolished a warehouse buried 30 meters underground. The damage was unprecedented, but even this demonstration of sheer might couldn't turn the tide of war. Despite its power, Schwerer Gustav had glaring weaknesses. It was painfully slow to transport and assemble. It needed an entire crew and supporting army just to function. Worst of all, it was completely defenseless from the air. Allied planes could have destroyed it easily, if they had known where to look. As the war advanced and mobility became key, Gustav's massive size became a burden, not a strength. It was a dinosaur in an age evolving towards speed and precision. By 1945, as Nazi Germany collapsed under Allied bombardment, there was no place left for Schwerer Gustav. Its creators made a grim decision. They destroyed the weapon themselves to prevent it from falling into enemy hands. What was once the pride of the Reich lay in twisted metal, a burnt-out husk on the tracks. And yet, its story endured. In museums, documentaries, and history books, Gustav became a cautionary tale. Today's weapons are smaller, faster, smarter, designed to strike silently from across the globe. The era of steel titans is over. As we look back, Schwerer Gustav is not just an engineering achievement. It is a symbol of the dark side of innovation. It showed what humans are capable of when driven by fear, ambition, and a thirst for dominance. Though it could devastate cities, Gustav couldn't decide the war's outcome. It couldn't conquer ideology or break the human spirit. It is a relic of an era when brute force was mistaken for victory. So what do you think? Was Schwerer Gustav a genius invention or a tragic misuse of intellect and industry? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into history's most powerful weapon, like, share, and subscribe to Universal TV, where history breathes and stories live forever.